Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crockett Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my man in the building, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra K, and I got the money man in the building, my man Walter, and I am the 5-star general. Say, man, them people talking about a civil war, man. Y'all know what I said the other night. Clack, clack. Are you ready for the day after the election if Trump don't win? We gonna find out, and tonight we gonna talk about it. Let's go. Say, man, I want to welcome y'all to another episode of the War Zone, and I want to thank you for tuning in and tell you, as usual, you are the most dynamic audience in the world, and we appreciate you guys taking time out to listen to these three intelligent black people and the crazy black Republican. I want to start it off by defending good little dude. Met him when he was 11 years old in a studio in Lake Charles, Louisiana. You know, his name is Lil Wayne. And today he catching some heat because he endorsed Trump. I'm going to tell you like this here how I feel about it. Lil Wayne has the right to endorse whoever the hell he want to endorse. And that's what it boils down to. And I think a lot of people, you really getting out your way with this foolishness, man. You can't make people endorse Biden. And you can't continue to think that people are going to sit back and let you demoralize them because they don't want to support Joe Biden. So kudos to Lil Wayne. You voted in your best interest, according to you and your family. And I don't have a problem with Lil Wayne, endorsing Donald Trump. And for those that have a problem with it, go check your bank account. Because when you can have money like Wayne got, then maybe you can run your mouth the way he do. Donovan, what's happening, my friend?
Welcome to the Thursday edition, the money edition of the War Zone. You know, the funny thing is, I don't really have much news going on because we know what's going to be happening. We got 5 days to the election. And again, it proves another point. If you guys think MAGA people are crazy and just into it, look at the Black Democrats. They're just as crazy. There's just no difference between how these parties react and act. But again, tomorrow is Angela Thompson's birthday, and we want to say this sincerely. Happy birthday. Many, many more to come. But I was talking to somebody today, and we were talking about the stock market and how it's going up and down and all around and whatever. And she asked me some questions because she is now an owner of a few companies. And she was just so thankful that, General, that you, Demetra, Walter, have changed her mindset from a consumer to an owner. And even though the market is going, let's say, down, lost 900 points, I guess it is, she still had the wherewithal to buy. When the market is down, you buy. When it's up, you leave it alone unless you got that kind of dough. So she learned a lot, and she wants just to say thank you guys for all you do. I've got my notes. I got my paper. Walter, let's get it. What's up, Demetra?
So hello, everybody. And I just kind of want to piggyback off of what Gary was saying about Lil Wayne. Again, you guys just heard that he's endorsed Donald Trump. And specifically what he said was, and of course, a lot of the black pundits are just starting to, jump on him. Jemele Hill, who was infamous for the Blame Black Men hashtag that was created because of her. And blaming black men for just everything under the sun, right? So basically, Lil Wayne said, just had a great meeting with at Real Donald Trump at POTUS. Besides what he's done so far with criminal reform, the Platinum Plan is going to give the community real ownership. He listened to what we had to say today and assured he will and can get it done. Now, I think what a lot of people is missing is the we. Who's the we? Who is the we that they're speaking of? Was he with more people? I guess time will tell, but I'm with Gary. It is his personal choice and opinion to endorse who he wants. Like I saw somebody under Jemele Hill's comment saying, oh, well, he's he's never been with the community, or he sold out the community. And I'm like, well, that alludes to that all Black people should be with Biden. The fact that he's endorsed Trump almost says that, well, he's supposed to be with the rest of us. You know, we're all behind the Democrats and behind Biden. Just like a lot of these vote blue no matter who people say, I don't care if it's Kermit the Frog. Well, you know, can't he think the same thing? He can endorse who he wants. You guys are willing to endorse Kermit the Frog if it's not Trump. So why do you care who Lil Wayne endorses? That is his right to do that, right? And so anyway, Walter, do you have anything to say about that before we get into why you're here?
Well, actually, I'd like to talk about Lil Wayne. So,
okay.
The funny part is, Lil Wayne is an old client of mine. I was introduced to him early 2000s. And they asked me, and I wasn't familiar with a lot of people in hip hop, but I was working with Kanye at the time. And so his management company asked me to work with him. So I've only met Lil Wayne once, because most of the time you're dealing with their managers. So based on what I know about him, you know, in the beginning, he made a lot of financial mistakes, but then he started to kind of, you know, with his team started to work on him financially. And I know he made some pretty good moves in the beginning, but if he's where I'm thinking he is now, based on the management team he had, he's probably thinking about his money. So here's the thing, and I know a lot of people, if they're honest, will probably vote for Trump. Like I was talking to my family today. I said, yeah, and we fight. They're all voting for Biden. Not all, but some of them. And so we kind of went back and forth. And I was like, if Trump wins or Biden wins, what's going to change for people of color? Absolutely nothing. So I think if Lil Wayne wants to vote with his pocketbook, I think that makes sense, because at the end of the day, I mean, we deal with people that don't like us as Black people, that want nothing to do with us, but we can still make money. And sometimes you just have to look at the pocketbook and say, you know what, either way it goes, these guys hate me, right? Joe Biden, you know, he was notorious with the super predator comment, and I know Trump is not a fan of Black people either. So if I'm going to vote, and I haven't decided who I'm gonna vote for yet, I'm still kind of waiting, but I'd probably vote with my checkbook. And from what I've seen, based on Lil Wayne's position, I think Trump is probably his guy. And didn't Ice Cube give the Democrat?
So we're losing your signal. You might want to go back in the house. Go back in the house. Don't come outside. It's not safe.
Well, let me say this here. You brought up Jemele Hill. Who the hell do Jemele Hill speak for? See, if you don't know nothing about Wayne, Wayne has always been in his community, and Wayne has given back to his community. I know that for a fact. Like I said, I met this kid at 11 years old in a studio in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Matter of fact, met him in the studio with Slim and Baby and Manny Fresh, who worked on our very first albums for us. And at that time, I met the Hot Boys in general. So, you know, he's voting according to his money. And see, that's what people need to understand. When you're in a different tax bracket, you know, your money work different for you than it do when you got the wrong person in office. So a lot of people ain't finna lose no money just to appease Black America. Now, the only thing I differ with Walter on is when he said, what will change for people of color? He said nothing. Well, I disagree, because when you say people of color, that's including other races. That's including the minority white woman. You know, they do this in the business world. They include them in people of color. So, you know, I think he should think about that, because it ain't nothing gonna change for Black people. But people of color gonna get something on the first day if Biden win. They just ain't gonna be Black.
No, absolutely. And I thought about that too. We want to always be direct in saying Black people, because to your point, Gary, when we say people of color, that means everybody, and then Black people last, if ever, right? That means everybody else. And we know that Joe Biden is going to do things for people of color. He said it, you know, if he becomes president. One of the first things he's going to do is blaze a legal pathway to citizenship for the undocumented people that are here. And then, of course, he's going to do things for the LGBTQ, I think I said that right, community. Not that there's a lot of people of color in there, but there's, a specific group. And so, yeah, we want to be deliberate in saying people of color. But the other thing, too, Lil Wayne is worth $150 million plus. And so Joe Biden said that he's going to raise taxes on people making $400,000 and above, and that includes him. And so I'm just like, when you vote, you're supposed to vote your better interests. And Dr. Claude Anderson said, Black people are the only group of people that votes as a block against our better interests. Like, we all vote together for Democrats, but we never get anything for doing that. So that's voting against your better interests. And a lot of people take Lil Wayne to task because he said at one time that he never experienced racism, so he didn't really have a whole lot to say about it. And I think we also got to keep in mind that what Lil Wayne is fairly young still. How old is Lil Wayne? He can't even be, what, is he even young?
He's not even in his 40s. He's probably in his early 30s.
Yeah, so, I don't know what his deal is, why he hasn't experienced racism, but it's maybe in his perception he hasn't. But, he's voting his better interests. And if that's what works for him, like, all white people don't vote for all, the same candidate. They mix their votes around.
That's why the white vote is 50-50 right now, and the Black vote is the one that decides the election. Why the hell do you guys think they're starting to cape toward us? The Black vote's the most pivotal vote of your lifetime. Again, all this other stuff. White folks are 50-50 down the line right now.
Yeah, so he's 39. So yeah, I guess he's old enough to know what racism is. But you got 100. Like Gary said, he met him when he was 11. So he's been in the game a long time. And he's probably had money a long time. So maybe he is. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Lil Wayne, but maybe he is kind of far removed from what everyday other people would experience. I don't know. But he's voting his better interests. And so I don't understand why we get mad at people saying, hey, I'm going to vote for somebody who is actually going to serve my needs.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Hold on. I'm trying to get Walter back. All right. So we're going to jump into what we came here to talk about. There's been a lot of threats made. A lot of threats made about what's going to happen if Trump loses. And the question is are you prepared for the day after the election if Trump loses? Are you prepared for what possibly could happen if Trump loses? Now, from my standpoint, I think it's some stuff going to pop off if he loses. But I think it's going to be in areas where, they got the good old boy system running in the police departments and the sheriff's departments. It's going to be small. It's going to be isolated. But I don't see you popping off in South Dallas. I don't see you popping off on the west side of Chicago or the south side of Chicago. Can you bring that fight over here to the north side and the south side of Houston? No, you ain't going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to go to small communities with your BS. And I think it's actually, there's a great possibility in my world. I'm going to say about a 90% chance that something's going to pop off if this man's lose. But the question is are you prepared for it? Donovan?
That is always a thought that people, and it's like I said, we know what the problem is. We're too busy dancing and shuffling to really listen and hear what the other side is saying about what they're going to do. We're too busy being entertained and, and just having a good old time and not taking this shit seriously. Because again, like they keep telling you, this is the most pivotal election of your lifetime. Again. But has anybody noticed that who supports Trump? Trump is supposedly a Republican, Democrat posing as a Republican. His base is the blue collar, white trash folks, right? That's his base, and that's going to be his base if he wins or loses. Now, who is the Democratic base? Oh, that's the corporate elite. Has anybody noticed that these parties are switching? And they do that every so many generations. The Democrats are now the elitists and the rich folks, and the Republicans are the downtrodden, I can't get what I need to get, nobody's looking out for me party. But in the House and in Congress, these parties work together, and they got us being manipulated. So this is where we're at, and you guys have got to pay attention. All that shuffling in the street is not going to put more money in your pocket. All that dancing and shucking and jiving is not going to make the police stop shooting your black ass.
Demetri?
Hi, Tiffany Campbell. How are you? So I just want to take your comment for a second. It says, I was disgusted by Trump saying in his rally that Biden may be shot within 3 weeks if elected. You also say, well, I want to stop right there. Trump didn't say that. He said Joe's shot. So maybe like he's tired or something like that, I'm assuming. But he didn't say that he would be shot in 3 weeks. That's actually false. I just wanted to put that out there. And I know a lot of times things are said and, it kind of spreads, but that's not exactly what he said. And I just looked it up because I was like, wow, I hadn't heard about it. And I just looked it up. And so it's coming up as false. But then you also go on to say this man is inciting violence against another white human being. Okay, so we know that he didn't do that. But he is inciting in a dog whistle type of way violence. He's still going at the governor, what is it, Wisconsin? Yeah,
the woman.
Yeah.
No, Michigan.
The one that was about to be kidnapped and all of that. He's still like taunting her, and that's kind of low key. Well, not low key, high key. Why the people were after her in the first place due to a lot of the rhetoric that Trump had spewed, and so he is, insinuating those things at his rally. And you hear, especially a lot of his supporters say that it's going to be on and cracking if Trump loses. And, I'm here in Houston now, and I drove through an area called Hunter. Gary, help me out. Hunter's something.
Hunter's Glen?
That one, where they have a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's right across the street from each other. So that's considered a good neighborhood. You see these big sprawling houses, and some of them, I guess, are mansions. And I saw quite a few Trump flags and stuff. Saw some Bidens too, but saw some Trump flags, and I thought, well, kind of to Donovan's point, is not just the poor white trash, if you will, that's going to be mad or that's supporting Trump. There's people, of the upper tax bracket, if you will, that's supporting Trump too. They're supporting Trump, I guess, really. A lot of them, to protect white supremacy, but a lot of them to protect their wallet. Walter?
Well, so it's funny you talk about the Trump flags. I know most of my friends that are extremely wealthy or doing well, most of them are voting for Trump, 99% of them. I was with a Mexican girl a couple of days ago, and she's from Mexico, cross the border, all that stuff with her family. She goes, you know what? I did it legally. I'm voting for Trump. Here's why. I want this country back. I went through all that to get here legally. Everybody should too. And she's a Trumper. She goes, my father has a business, and he intends on being wealthy, and Trump's our dude. And I'm like, whoa. So a lot of the wealthier people are voting for Trump because at the end of the day, it's about money for a lot of people. And if we as people of color would get to this point, like I was talking to one of the members today on the War Zone, matter of fact, and we had a 2-hour conversation about money and finance, and me and her talked about 4 or 5 ways for her to get wealthy. We mapped out her being a millionaire in 20 years. And I said, you know what would be cool if everybody was talking about this? Because if Joe Biden wins, me and you are going to be rich. And if Trump wins, we're going to be rich. So a lot of the people, I think, are about their money, are voting for Trump. Now, there's some rich people voting for Biden, too. Everybody has an agenda. So I was in Yucca Valley in the desert community, and it was all Trump. I mean, they had flags, and I think the downside with the Trump people is they just seem like they want to blow. They seem angry and irritated. You know, you drive by, it's like the Dukes of Hazzards all over again, and I think that is scaring a lot of people away. Because I wouldn't walk into that rally. You know, it seemed like the only thing they're missing are the sheets. So I do see where it goes both ways.
You know, right across from me, my neighbors right across the street, they're Asians. And on the back of their cars, both of them, it says Asians for Trump.
Yeah. It's their money. You know, and at the end of the day, I know, for instance, I feel like this. If I have my stuff together, I can get pulled over by a cop. But I know if he knows that I'm wealthy, he's going to have a problem, right? And that has to do with anybody in power and politics. I think one of you guys said it best. Gary, maybe it was you. The best way to get political power is to buy it, period. So you do that with money. So I think at the end of the day, we should protect our money. I haven't followed each candidate enough to know if either one of them is going to make us wealthier, but from what I understand, from what I hear, the people with the money is they're voting for Trump just based on economics. Does that make sense?
I know a lot of people, you know, they're trying to defend, you know, they're trying to demoralize Trump for using the term coyote when it comes to the Spanish people or Latin people, whatever you want to call them, or Mexican people. Look, man, if you moving dope from Mexico to US, they call you coyotes. So I'm a black man, and you know why I don't have a problem with the coyote word? Coyote. Let's say it together. Let's go slow. I want all three of y'all to say it. When I say it. Okay. Coyote. I don't hear y'all.
Coyote.
Coyote.
Which one is worse? Now I'm gonna give you two words to say. Now, say the first word, coyote.
Coyote.
Nigga.
Coyote.
So which one is worse?
Nigga.
You think I give a damn about y'all being called coyotes? I don't give a damn about you being called no coyotes. Stop moving dope from Mexico to US.
Well, you know what? Actually, coyote is not a derogatory term.
Exactly.
Years ago, my neighbor, you know, he was a coyote. He says, I'm a coyote. Now, this is before 9/11, and he would take his truck, go across the border, and bring people back illegally, and they would pay him $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and he says, I'm a coyote. So that's just a technical term of what they call them. But people need to educate themselves and stop getting so offended by everything.
Well, I'm offended. I'm gonna tell you what I'm offended by. That you have a problem with us that have a problem with you coming here legally. Say, man, can you just come here legally? You can stop using your coyote partners. Can you just come here legally and go do what you need to do? Then you ain't got to worry about what people call you. But see, you worried about coyote. Goddamn, back in the day, they called you pigs. And you should live in pig sties.
Right.
But you ain't got a problem with that.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, you know, when you don't live on a border state and, you know, and you've never heard these terms before, and your community is not inundated with illegals, filling up your emergency rooms and taking all your tax dollars, you guys don't hear those terms because they call people who transport dope mules. These are just terms that people who know what it means. A coyote's not derogatory for the simple fact that these guys go out and get it, and then they bring the people over. Are they pieces of trash? Are they pieces of shit? Absolutely. But those people are paying the coyotes to bring them over the border illegally. So it's not a derogatory term. It's not shot at Hispanics or anything like that. It's shot at the people who do that particular trade.
So let me ask you a question then, Donovan, because you're educated brother. You be knowing about that. And plus, I live down there in California. You know, so if they bringing people over here illegally, They call them coyotes, right?
Correct.
But what do we call the government official that allows the dope to come in here illegally?
President. President, senator, congressman. We got a lot of terms for him, but yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
You know, I just think that you know, I'll really be glad when this election is over. I'm just ready for the aftershock. You know, I'm like Walter. I need to make money. I mean, and you know, we really can't do nothing right now. You know, I mean, I really think in about after the election, they're going to shut the country down again because the COVID numbers are slowly going back up. And the only reason that the COVID numbers are dropping is because they're decreasing the testing. They're decreasing the testing. So if they go and they actually do the test, our numbers are horrible. They're horrible. So, you know, I'll be glad when this election is over, you know, because, you know, today I think Kamala came to the suburbs in Houston over in, I think it was in Fresno at Hightower High School. And I'm watching people running for office out there and they're so excited. And Kamala, and man, ain't you running for office? Can this woman here give you some type of endorsement while she here? You done gave her one. Man, y'all gonna learn sooner or later. Y'all worrying about that. But the question is, are you prepared for the day after the election? Because we know if Trump loses, then the Proud Boys and people like them gonna be pissed. If Biden loses, then you got Black Lives Matter, Antifa. And all I'm telling you, I am issuing out 3 ass whoopings. Any one of y'all come up on me with that foolishness, I'm gonna bust you dead in your mouth. And that's all it boiled down to. But I really live in a neighborhood where I don't think you're going to come through here with none of that foolishness. Because they made a mistake, Walter. They dropped a bunch of guns off in our neighborhood a long time ago. So ain't nobody worried about none of y'all. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. You better get somewhere. Because, you know, I think we should all invest in a funeral home. We should build us our own funeral home. And we should invest in some land where we can put dead bodies, because these are people that's making the most money right now.
Hey, Walter. Let me read this comment to you, and I want to hear your opinion on this. And I'm gonna piggyback with something that I saw today. All right, so I'm gonna read this to you. It's from our resident antagonist, Angela, and she says, "Get to this point and vote for Trump so you all can be okay. But I understand it's their money. Biden might not even raise taxes so high. Trump's not going to never raise taxes on the rich. Nobody's looking out for the poor." So let's take her last point where she says, nobody's looking out for the poor. When you hear that, what comes to mind?
I'm looking out for the poor. There are a lot of people looking out for the poor, but the poor aren't looking out for themselves. And you know what the crazy part is? Being poor is not a condition. Being poor is a state of mind. Period. Let me tell you what I mean by this. I was telling the member on the phone today, I said, do you realize that me and my girlfriend are building a $500,000 resort in Joshua Tree without a penny out of our pocket? Period. So let's assume I had no money, but I had a good credit score, which doesn't cost you anything to build. You can go out and make moves. So there's things like that. You can go out, you know, I was talking to somebody else. They were like, well, I want this new car. I said, you big dummy, that's $600 a month. Do you realize you can buy that car for $10,000 instead of $30,000? It's going to be 5 or 6 years, but that's going to give you that money to put in your pocket. So being poor is a state of its behavior. It has, because you can be poor and make moves like wealthy people. And you guys, being wealthy just means your bills are paid and you're comfortable and money's not an issue. Doesn't mean you have millions. It just means if you have $4,000 a month coming through the door every month, regardless of what you do with your day, and your bills are $2,500, you are wealthy in my book. It's called financial independence. So people need to stop identifying with poor people. Poor is a condition. Now, if you live in a third world country, that's different, right? Where you got, if you're in Cuba, and honestly, I've been to Cuba. They live happier than we do. But if you're in one of those places where the government just keeps you poor, good. But the government doesn't do that to us in this country. In the last, since 8 years, 12 years, the real estate market crashed. Everything went to the ground, and we have the opportunity to invest and buy things cheap. Interest rates are 2-3%. There's so many things you can go out and do right now, but everybody's out there shopping, balling, or complaining about politicians who aren't going to do shit for us. You realize AOC was a bartender 4 years ago, and she gets a check every year from the Congress, a pension for the rest of her life, housing, car, food, everything. It probably takes $400,000 or $500,000 a year to support this woman. You understand what? So she's smart enough to go, oh, I'm going to get into politics and I'm going to be wealthy forever. So being wealthy is about making moves. It's not about, the government isn't holding you back, period. Because if that's the case, we wouldn't have wealthy black people, wealthy Mexicans. We wouldn't have them. You understand what I'm saying? So being poor is your state.
Let me ask you a question. When people make comments like nobody's looking out for the poor, what the hell you want done? What the hell you want done? You keep talking about a damn problem, but you have no solutions. I'm gonna tell you how you look out for the poor. I'm gonna tell you how you look out for the poor right now. Why don't you question all this government money for rental assistance? Let's start there. That you didn't get any of because the politicians gave it to their friends. They gave it to their friends' children. They gave it to their friends' friends. But the people that really needed it ain't get nothing. So how is the government not looking out for you? What about just the additional money that they were going to give away? Well, the politicians made sure that they gave it to their friends. They gave it to their friends' friends and to their friends' children. So my question is if nobody's looking out for you, what the hell do you want?
Right. And that's what we're not addressing. And black people, people of color, I don't know why we identify with poor people. It doesn't make sense. I was talking to a friend of mine. She goes, my son inherited 50 grand and he effed it all off. That's got nothing to do with race politics. It got to do with stupidity. How many people, and here's what I told.
Politics ain't got nothing to do with you being at the club on a Friday night in the middle of a pandemic fucking off your money. Racist politics ain't got nothing to do with you standing in line at the turkey leg hut. That racist politics ain't got nothing to do with stupidity when it comes to not understanding financial literacy.
Right.
Y'all know what I saw today? So, I'm new to Houston, so I'm kind of, driving around looking for certain things.
Welcome to hell.
Well, I was driving down the streets in Houston, Gessner, and I ended up in Asia. How did I do that?
Because I've said 1,000 times, and as you navigate through the city, you're gonna see. And Walter, you could jump in here on this. Donovan too. In Houston, everybody owns a section of this city except for black people. You got Asia, the Asians own several sections of the city. The Latino brothers, they got Pasadena sold up. Even the Jamaicans on Bissonnette, they got their businesses. Of course, we know the white folk got theirs. What part of the city do black people own?
I was blown away. I mean,
and they got everything on Gessner Asian-wise that you could ever want.
Man, they got a few banks, not one, and everything is written in their language. And this went on for miles and miles on both sides of the street. I was like, man, I thought I was in Houston.
Real quick, last time I was in Houston, even the Africans have a section of the city that's for them. Is that correct?
Say that again, Donovan?
Yeah.
In Houston, last time I was there, even the Africans have set up a section for themselves. Okay.
Yes, they have. And see, my doctor is over there close to where Demetri was. And I'm talking about these people got their own grocery stores. They got their own banks. They got their own shopping centers. They got everything that they need. You knuckles don't have nothing. Nothing. So you know how they get that? Like in the Asian part of town, their state rep name is Gene Wu. And Wu is one of the ones that I endorsed because he takes care of his community. So if we don't have anything in our neck of the woods, it's not because of Donald Trump. It won't be because of Joe Biden. It'll be because of them Negroes that represent us who making money off gentrification and don't give a damn if you don't have nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys, this is the best time for people all over the world, people to get wealthy. This is the easiest. Yes, you realize people get wealthy during chaos. This is when people that are taking a step back make moves. The problem is black people, we are scared. We are the scariest people in the world to make money. I have a conversation with black people, say, "Oh, I don't know about that. I need to pray on it. I need to talk to this person. Oh, I need to talk to everybody." Like, you didn't talk to everybody when you spent $1,200 on a Range Rover, you dumbass. So we are scared. Scared money don't make money. A black person made that up, but we are the scariest people in the world. In my neighborhood, I live in Ontario, California, and I drive to Riverside on a regular basis. A lot of my kids, I said a lot of my kids, I do. A lot of my kids live in Riverside, and between my house and my kids' house are 20 Mexican taco trucks. Not a Negro in sight, not a flower on the corner, nothing. Every single business is Mexican owned from my house to their house. There's no ordinance against black people starting a business in Ontario or Riverside. Where y'all at?
They doing what you teach people every Thursday night. They're leaving legacies for their children. They're leaving legacies for their grandchildren. See, they laughing at little Pablo because as soon as school is over, he don't run the football practice. Little Pablo run over there to the tire shop where his daddy owned, and he learned how to take them tires off that car. So when his dad dies mysteriously, gets sick or whatever, dies of natural causes, guess who owns the shop now?
Pablo.
But we not trying to do that. We too busy pouring our money into Pablo's shop. We're too busy pouring our money into these people businesses. And the one thing that I believe, that I know in my heart, that you are not going to end up wealthy. Fuck being rich. I want to be wealthy. You will not end up being wealthy making somebody else wealthy. It's not going to happen. It does not happen. So if Sam Walton can open up a small store in the back of his house and turn it into Walmart, then what stops you? If the man that owned Prime Trucking can start his trucking company with one truck and now he has over 4,000 trucks all over the country, what stops you? We don't want to invest in ourselves. That has nothing to do with white people. That has something to do with you. So the next time you get mad at Jared Kushner for telling you that it ain't shit that we can really do for you until you do something for yourself, you need to think about that. You need to open up your own stuff. But I think the minister done told you to do that. But you don't want to listen. And for those that feel like, well, the Asians, they come and they leave Tiffany Campbell. I get it. They come, they leave, they get free money from the government. The reason that they do is because their representation fights to make sure that they get it. Our representation don't fight for us to get nothing but a stank ass turkey at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no more turkeys. And growing up, my sister would tell you, I tell my kids, I was 5 years old, my father had his own mechanic shop, and after school, I would walk my ass to his shop, and we would work till midnight. I don't remember homework. I barely remember what school I went to. Go straight. I couldn't tell you. what school my classes, but I know that I went to work with my father every day, and I did that till I was an adult, and that's all I knew. And I learned all those skills and techniques from my father, where the Range Rover is right here. So I learned all those techniques from my pops. And so I think we as a people have gotten away from doing that. You know, like black people, our kids are out of control. If I can just be honest, right? We need to, thank you. We need to grab control of our kids, period. That needs to happen first, right? Because that's our next generation. Those are the people that are going to take care of us. And we can't say shit to our kids. They got too much to say, so we need to start with them, for starters. You understand what I'm saying?
Let me help you with that one too, because I got you, brother. They out of control because of their representation. Our problem is our representation. You can't expect the kid to be in control when the goddamn parent out of control. So if your kid's smoking dope in the house with you at 14 years old, then what you think he gonna do? If you don't have a problem with your daughter getting pregnant at 13, then she ain't gonna have a problem getting pregnant again at 14. But if we're not teaching them, they're gonna do exactly what they do. Now think about this. Us 4 individuals on here must have had strong parents. They must have shown us something. They taught us from day one. But these people ain't got time to teach these kids nothing but how to get to happy hour at 4:30 in the afternoon when they get off fucking work. And that go for the teachers too. You don't even want to do tutorials no more because you're trying to get to the daiquiri shop so you can get your happy hour special. So, I mean, I'm not contradicting you, Walter, as far as our kids are out of control. But we would have been out of control too if our representation would have allowed us to be out of control. I look at your family and I've met you, I've met Demetra, I've met the other brother, and you got doctor behind your name, financial advisor, you know, you got degrees on the wall. Well, goddamn, old man must not have been playing in that house. He must not have been playing. And he didn't have a problem getting no switch, no belt, none of that. But you can't expect for these kids to be something that these people ain't teaching them how to be.
You know, and that's very true. We had no nonsense parents when it came to education and entrepreneurship. And Donovan's sitting there. He's got working on his 12th degree, like literally working on the 12th degree. And like you said, Gary, you had, you know, parents that didn't play, but like those, I'm not saying they don't have parents like that now, but they not like it was, you know, when we was coming up. Like our parents meant business. Okay, and there was some real consequences to pay for not doing what you were supposed to be doing. I remember I got an ass whooping for getting an F in math in the 7th grade.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about being uncomfortable when it comes to youngsters. How comfortable should a youngster be when they bring a progress report home with 8 grades on it and 6 of them are F's? How goddamn comfortable should they be? You know, I had jokes.
Oh, wait. And nowadays they still got their PlayStation and all the
I had
whistles.
A Joe Jackson moment. I was raising my nephew. I put him in ROTC because I felt he needed some goddamn discipline. Well, I get a call from the school that he clowning. He won't learn, you know, his you know, what you call that when you got to turn a certain way, Donovan, and you know,
facing movements.
Yeah, he couldn't learn that. He didn't know none of that. He didn't know none of his ranks. So I set him at the table and I say, I know one thing. I pulled out the playbook because he played football for me. And I say, how do you run a 40 normal defense against a spread offense? He broke it all the way down. I say, so if I line up in a cover 2, what's the responsibility of the corner and the safety? He say the corner gonna drop back 10 yards. The safety covers over the top. Okay, so you know all this. But you don't know that other stuff. I tell you how we're going to work this out. You got 2 weeks to know all this stuff. And I'm going to sit you at this table. And every day I come in and you act like you don't know it, I'm going to whoop your ass. And in 2 weeks, he went and they had a major exam on how to do the formations and all that, the rank. The boy made all A's because I beat it out of him. I'm not playing these games, man. Ain't nothing wrong with you. See, our parents, they too busy, Demetri, trying to get SSI checks. They too busy trying to make these kids go up in the doctor's office and put square pegs in round holes. Got these kids playing crazy. Oh, he got ADHD. ADHD means you just ain't whooped his ass. That's all it boils down to. If you're going to be a parent, you're going to be a parent until the day you put your child in the ground or they put you in the ground. So the thing is, are you preparing them for the day after the election? What are these kids supposed to expect? They got to go in them school buildings. You know how that shit go. They might try to shoot up a school or whatever. We need to prepare our kids better, and that's all it boils down to. So the reason that these kids are falling through the crack is because of these piss poor parents that don't want to do the damn job. And I'm going to say it, and you know, because every now and then I get a little loose, Demetri. I hope you ain't drinking nothing. You spend more time fucking than you do raising your children. All you want is the dick, but you don't want what happened with what's inside the dick into you, and 9 months later it becomes a responsibility.
You know, real talk with that, because I just want to say this since we're talking about that. My nephew came home with his D in PE. Now, all the other than math, I don't give a shit about all the other shit because anybody could write that stuff up. I don't really care. But the one thing as a black person, you do not come home with an F in is freaking PE. All right.
Hell, you flunked PE because you didn't want to put the uniform on.
Right.
But how they normally flunk it.
Right. But he's trying to be slick and say, well, it's the pandemic. I said, so what are they asking you to do in PE? I know you're at home on the computer. He didn't do the assignments. Yeah, you're not going to go physical activity, but they gave him assignments. I got in his ass because I said, you know what? I don't give a damn. You're not out there playing basketball or whatever they're telling you to do. The one class that black kids do not get an F in is fucking PE. Done. That grade went right back up.
Well, that's good you were there.
How you know Titus when he come home with 2 Fs?
Who? Oh shit. Hey. Okay, first of all, but can I go the other way real quick? Like PE, yeah, you should get an A. And come on now, all you gotta do is get dressed and go around the track. But here's another thing I think that hurts black people, and I had this conversation today with somebody, and you can send me nasty messages, is religion and education are a double-edged sword for black people. I told my kids, we went jogging, and I said, my son's like, Dad, I'm tired of this shit. I got a 4.5, and what's the point? And I was like, I said, you know, the problem with school is when you get a D, they get mad. I said, but so in order to get a D, that means you got 6 out of 10 right. In life, if you get 6 out of 10 things right, you will be successful. In relationships, you only have to get 1 right. In baseball, if you hit 3 out of 10, you will be a superstar Hall of Famer. So why in the hell, when the kid gets 6 out of 10 right, we give him a D and tell him he's making a mistake? Now, here's the point I'm making, because I realize the school system has to function, but like, seriously, a kid gets 6 out of 10 right and we beat him up? Maybe we should look on the flip side and say, hey, man, you got most of them right. Get most things right in business. If you get 6 out of 10 businesses right, so let's say you start $10 million businesses and only 6 of them were right, you have $6 million. That's what we're missing. And we need to cut the shit out. Black people, still stop hitting people with the I gotta pray on it. That's an excuse to suck at what you do. Period. You've been praying all your damn life, and here's the answer, and you got to go pray about the answer. We are the poorest people in the world, and we go to church more than any other race. We get dressed up to do it. We make songs and plays about it, and we have no money. What kind of God is that? Seriously, if you think about it. So maybe God is saying everybody gets treated the same. We got to do the work. So
let me say this here to you, brother. When it comes to school, you know, special ed, and y'all done heard me say it before. Special ed used to be 7 or 8 kids that came to school early, they ate lunch early, and they left school early. They walked down the hallway together. It was special ed kids. We knew you could define them. You knew. Nowadays, in a school that has a population of 800 kids, you have at least 450 of them labeled special ed. Labeled special ed. Now, the realization of that is that you've allowed the school system to cripple your child. Because in real life, I'm in college right now. I get one shot at submitting that test. One. In school nowadays, especially if a kid is labeled special ed, they can take the test as many times as they need to take it until they pass it. That's a false narrative. Because if your child is talking about going to college after high school, them professors ain't dealing with that. They ain't dealing with that. You know, we got to get in the schools. We have to be more active in the schools. We have to give a damn about our children performing at the highest level. Your child is not dumb. Your child is not dumb. Come on. I don't even want to hear that. Unless they have a realistic physical deformity, I don't consider them special ed. You've allowed these people to pump this dope into your children. You've allowed these people to make you believe that your child is slow, that they can't do this, they can't do that. You know, when we're looking at the murders out there with the police officers and all this here, you seem to have the right mind when you ain't dealing with the cops. But as soon as you start dealing with the cops, you do dumb shit. You go out there and then all of a sudden the cop put that heat on you. Then he had a mental problem. Yeah, he definitely did. He didn't think about that motherfucker pulling that pistol out and busting his head open. So the thing is what I'm saying, when it comes to school, how do you flunk PE as a football player? Watch this, Donovan. Because most football teams have an athletic period. And all you got to do if you play football is show your dumb ass up. How do you flunk these classes, man? How do you flunk these classes? But then also, the thing about school is they're educating them differently on different sides of town. They have more resources for them. So if we got a school full of special ed kids, then that school should be like a community schools model. Blah 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 blah. It then got so bad to where we need a Goodwill store inside of the school. Because all of a sudden you can't afford nothing. But let the prom pop up. For all them days you was at the motherfucking thing getting them free school supplies. For all the days that you was out there lying to them people, I can't afford the physical. But the prom pop up. You got Lamborghinis, Ferraris. Them dresses is $2,000-$3,000. That hair is $1,000, $1,500. But for 4 years, you've been playing the game. That's why I'm telling you, if I know you personally and you got your child acting retarded to get money out of Gary Monroe, it ain't gonna happen.
I want to say this too. Walter probably doesn't remember, but my mom once told me a story about my brother. He, was labeled ADD and all of that. And so the teachers would say that he was unruly and he, wouldn't sit down and this, that, and the other. So my mom took him to the doctor and they gave him some, whatever it was, Ritalin, I think it was. And so, then the teacher would say, oh, well, Walter's falling asleep in class. And so my dad owned his own business and, so my mom mostly dealt with us and she told my dad about it. And he says, take my son off of that medicine. And every day when he gets home, I want you to sit him down and and so he can discipline him to sit down and be still. And, for the most part, it worked. And he was off of the medicine. But the point, I say that to say, if you are not awake as a parent, then that kind of stuff happens to your children. The school system and everybody else puts these labels on them. And Gary, you can, speak to that. Tell these people that those labels actually follow you all the way up to adulthood. But people don't realize that. And so you have to be awake as a parent when they start trying to tell your child needs this, your child needs that. That puts them in a system and they are labeled for the rest of their life. But you can't allow them to do that to your children. A lot of times, I'm not saying there's or things aren't organically wrong with people's children sometimes. But sometimes it's just a matter of you taking time with them and saying, okay, I'm going to focus on you just a little bit more.
Angela said ADHD. Children with defiant attitudes, children with attitudes. Let me tell you what you ain't finna do in my house. You don't pay no bills here to have no goddamn attitude. You don't pay no bills. You play that ADHD shit at school. Don't come here playing with me. When I tell you get out there and cut that yard, I'm not paying no yard man. You get out there and cut that yard. I'm not bringing no maid in here to clean up. That's your job. I'm not doing none of that. See, the thing is, oh well, my child got an attitude, and they what's the thing that they use nowadays, Demetri? The violent behavior. They have violent behavior. I wish a mother would living in my house. I'm gonna be up under the penitentiary. You notice how I was rubbing my hands together? Because I'll slap your grill out your mouth if you disrespect me. Your job is to go to school, make good grades. Outside of that, I don't want to hear your mouth. Well, I tell you what I think you should do right now. Go upstairs, get everything that you bought, and get the hell up out my house. Well, I didn't buy nothing. Well, your bag is going to be real light when you go through the front door. But you're not finna live here. Because ain't nothing but grown folk live here, homeboy. And that's what it boiled down to. Y'all need to practice. Walter, you need to practice for Titus in case that day comes.
Oh, that day, if that day is not coming, I mean, he's 5 months old. I'm in his ear every day. But here, I'm gonna piggyback off what my sister said. Here's what happened. My mom told me the story, and trying to get me to sit down is not happening. You know what happened? Is I started going with my father to work so I could run my ass around. My father would be like, yo, I need a 5/8. I need a 1/2 inch. I need this. Go get me a jack stand. So what it was is I was able to take the issues I had, and they're not issues, by the way, they're talents. My ADHD, the ability to not stay still, I was able to run around and work and help my pops. And to this day, everyone that knows me will tell you that I do not sit down. At a dinner party, I'm the only one standing up. I'm running around the room. I'm everywhere. I do not sit still. In my sleep, I'm tossing and turning. So, and a lot of ballers are like that. They do not sit still. So instead of saying I told one of my friends the other day, oh, my son, the teacher says he has ADHD. I said, give his ass something to do. He doesn't have ADHD. He's just bored. Period.
Now,
I hope I didn't rub the wrong way, but it is what it is. You can't whoop autism out of a kid. Well, autism is totally different. We're talking about ADHD.
That's totally different. What I was going to say is this here. You can't whoop autism out of a kid. But every kid ain't got no damn autism. Some of these kids is bad as fuck. Let's just put it out there. And that means that you're not doing your job at home. So I remember the rides to school, and we would pray on our way to school when I was taking the kids to school. And then we'd always have that talk because my nephew, he was alive while. And, after we thank God and amen, and then we would have that talk. Now, I know you try to act like you got ADHD, but don't make me pull that hot shot truck over today because I'm going to come over there and whoop the shit out of you, man. I'm going to whoop that ADHD up out your ass. I'm going to take you off campus. And I'm gonna check you out. I'm gonna whoop your ass. And by the time you get back in school, your ass gonna be hurting too much for you to even worry about your ADHD. So don't play with me. Say, man, y'all see, that's the reason they complain nowadays, Demetri Donovan and Walter. Oh, ain't no big mamas no more. See, big mama didn't play them games. Y'all around here trying to be your kid friend. And that's where it messes up at. Because my kids, 23, 24, will tell you, that is my father. He is not my friend. I'm not your friend, homeboy. I'm not your friend, little mama. Don't get it twisted. And at 24, I will look them in the eye, my girls, and tell them, don't ever think that you can disrespect me and get away with it. Well, I'm married now. Well, that means I'll whoop you and your husband. I don't play them games.
Right. And that's the problem. We've lost control of our generation. And I'm really afraid of what the next 30, 40 years looks like based on our kids. So, yeah, like me and my son work together. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. My goodness. I got a business partner who I raised. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's my kid. Don't kick him. Don't, it's tough. Like, giving your kids instructions, but at the end of the day, I didn't want to go to work with my father every damn day, but I did it and I learned something from it. And he was like, hey, this is the way it is. He didn't give me a choice. I just did it. And I'm glad he did. I'm telling you, my father woke up at 5 a.m. We went to bed at 1. And it did wonders for me. To this day, I have that work ethic. I've never, like, I don't even think about working for somebody else. I wake up and go, oh, it's my money, my time, my life. What do I need to do with it? Now, there's nothing wrong with having a job, but don't, like, you can have a job, but you should have a side hustle. You should have something that's going to better your life, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm glad that me, Donovan, Demetra, and Walter had some crazy abusive parents, because that's the reason we this age. And the only way we're gonna die might be Walter might die for making too much money. Pocket's gonna be too heavy, might break his back or something. Donovan, same thing. Demetra she might die because she's just too black and people get mad at her. Now me, I'm on the hit list. They looking for me 24/7. So, you know, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. But I am so happy that I had the mom that I had. I'm happy that she was as tough on me as she was. I'm happy that the support system that she had, those coaches, those uncles, that pastor, the neighbors, I'm glad, because without them, I would not have made it. Because I was one of those kids that stayed in some shit. What kid steals a city bus to get to school? Gary Monroe.
Damn.
What kid, when he ain't got nothing to do after football season over, just run around the school and set trash cans on fire? Gary Monroe. What kid that had a list? I thought this was a major accomplishment. I was a professional school thief, and I stole 4,100 items. I mean, I stole 4,012 items without ever getting caught.
Damn.
I was walking out to school with TVs. We would break in the cafeteria, steal all the meat, go around the corner, sell it to the little Chinese store. So I'm happy that them people stayed on me. And the one man was an assistant principal, Erskine Mohead. Those that went to Yates know Mr. Mohead. He was a track star because you couldn't wear your hat in the building. So if he had to run you down to get that hat off your head, then so be it. I cut up so bad one day, he called me in the office and he called the janitor. I'm wondering why he calling the janitor. He said, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get suspended, and I'm not sending you home. So I said, well, what you gonna do? Because I was fly like that. He said, Timmy Price, take him outside, go get one of them lawnmowers out the shed and make him cut the grass. I had to cut the grass, and Yates is almost 3 acres of land. I had to go cut the grass, but he wasn't letting me leave that school. He wasn't letting me because he said, you got too much potential, and I'm going to stay in your chest. So guess what old Monroe did last year? 30-something years after it was all over. I was the one that inducted him into the Yates Hall of Fame. Because without him, I would have never made it. I would have never made it.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Final thoughts, Mr. Walter.
Oh, final thoughts. Here's what I want to say. The election is Tuesday. Between now and then, there's so many moves you can make. What I've been doing, what I did today, is I was calculating like all the roadblocks. We have the pandemic, we have the election, we have no stimulus. Those 3 things are going to be gone, dealt with. So what I've been telling people to do is what I've been doing today. I bought JP Morgan stock options into June. I bought Nordstrom. I bought a bunch of stock options out until next year, March and June. And I still have all my January. Because here's what's going to happen, you guys. Right now, the shit is hitting the fan, and they are shaking poor people out. I'm doubling down. I'm investing money for March and June, and I'm putting things in place so when the housing crisis hits next year, or when things fall apart and things are super cheap, I'm going to be right there to buy them. And I think we, as a people right now, if you never did it before, do it now. Cut your expenses. You guys get rid of your car payments, your expenses. If you're eating out every goddamn day, stop it. Stack that money so when things collapse, you have money to make moves. People are going to be getting rid of things for cheap, and you can buy them for cheap and resell them and put the profit in your pocket. Those are my final thoughts.
Well, moving on to me before we get to Demetra, I just want to say, if you haven't voted, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't, because as Black people, we're on Black people time. You need to walk your ballot in, because the Supreme Court left a loophole to where they can rule on if your ballot is going to be legal later on if you mail it in and it doesn't get in there during the time it's supposed to get in there. So for those of you guys that we got to get Trump out no matter what, okay, Trump is out. Let's say he's out. Now what? But just remember this. Remember what I'm saying here. I want you guys to listen to this very, very closely. This is the most pivotal election of your lifetime. Again, emphasis on again. They keep telling you this every election cycle. And if you want to know what candidate you should or should not be voting for, walk outside your damn house, look at your damn neighborhood. That will give you a damn indication of who you shouldn't be voting for.
And I would just say in my closing statements, if you will, regardless of who's president or who's in the White House, Black people, we still need to get our stuff together. Wouldn't it be nice if we fought just as hard to come together as we fight to be apart? Like we fight over this person in office and that person, this, that, and the other. But I get like, I'm not a person that gets depressed really easy. You know, anybody who knows me, they'll tell you I'm annoying sometimes because I'm like, what are you depressed over? Get over it. But when I drive through a community and I see, and I'm not hating on the Asians, you know, I'm not hating on them at all, but when I see that they are starting to build and monopolize not just a block, but blocks, what it says to me is they get it. Asians are 8% of the population and they own most of the wealth in the United States. They get group economics. They busy fighting with each other. I'm mad at you because you voting for Trump. I'm mad at you because you voting. They don't give a shit about none of that. They building banks and grocery stores and like you name it. They worried about the politics last. They're worried about their bottom line first. And that's what we as Black people need to do, because Tuesday is going to come and go and we'll still be fucked. Excuse my French.
Hey, man, I couldn't say it no better than them. I think one of the most important Thursdays, because we normally talk finance on Thursdays, will be the Thursday after the election. And Walter, I think, Walter, we need to do some stock option classes, because I would rather see people invest in their own selves than to invest in Black Friday. So I think that we need to put some stock option classes together again, Walter, if you're cool with that.
I'm cool with it. And please, people, don't tell me you're doing the Black Friday shit. If you are out on Black Friday, you are one of the biggest idiots in the world. That they should call it Black people getting Po Fridays. That is insane to me. Adults still do Black Friday or these holidays and spend money they don't have. Are you kidding me? Come on now.
Well, I tell you what, man. Yeah, I think that's what we need to do. I think that you guys that have not voted, if you still have time to early vote, I think tomorrow is the last day in Texas that you can early vote. You need to early vote because election day is going to be crazy. And if you didn't vote, then you will be in those lines election day. And that's what it is. I think that the election is going to be contested in several states. Tomorrow we have a press conference. I'll put some information out because we found some things and we're tired playing the game and we're going to put it out. And that's what it is. But remember, 7 o'clock in the morning, Warzone Morning Show. If you ain't tuned in yet, some of the best old school music you can think of. You can call in at 8:30 in the morning and ask Uncle Rodney whatever you want to ask him. He got an answer for whatever you're asking. But, I got the jackass of the day, at 9 o'clock. And at 9:30 tomorrow, we're doing a versus. We do a versus every morning, Walter. Tomorrow, Mary J. Blige versus Toni Braxton. And I'm riding with Mary J. Back to back, we going blow for blow. If you have not downloaded the app, you missing good music. I had one lady call in this morning, and she say this is the best morning show that I've ever listened to. So yeah, Ricky Smiley, you can get somewhere. I learned from the greatest in the game, Tom Joyner. And we just gonna have a little fun, and we're gonna do what we do. So I thank all of y'all on behalf of the whole team, man, for tuning in. But you ain't got much time left. The shit gonna hit the fan Tuesday. And I'm ready either way. I don't care how it go down. I'm ready for whatever happens. Say, man, another spirited discussion from the best in the business, man. It's the War Zone. I want to thank my good friend Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra K, the Money Man Walter, and I am the 5-star general. Tomorrow morning, War Zone Radio, 7 a.m. You can only listen if you download the app. It's free. I don't make no money off you downloading the app. But support the brand. It's going down. Love in the Zone is coming. But I switched some things up, and I think y'all gonna be tripping when you see it. It is what it is. Give a shout out to my partner up in Lafayette, Louisiana, still putting it down for Trey Propellerin, Unity 7, and my man Chris Bernard. 5-star be back. I holler at y'all tomorrow, and the team will holler at you.